Hi, I'm Mary.
And I'm Katie, and this is the Housewife. And this is the Housewife did it.
Pop culture edition.
I forgot I needed a microphone.
I thought I was gonna mix up pop culture and true crime when we started with true crime, and I didn't, and I almost mixed it up just now.
Oh.
If you like our show, you can like, subscribe, follow, and share. Send it to every man you know to explain to them why they suck.
True. We're good for that. A disclaimer that we are recording this earlier than we normally would. So if some of this feels out of date or you're like, how did they not talk about that thing that just happened?
Yeah.
It's because it probably didn't happen yet. Also, when this is out, there should also be a bonus episode that has come out a couple days before this. So go check that out.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So I've just finished Love on the Spectrum Season 3. So good. So many success stories. Obviously, Abby and David are still together, and if you were not weeping during her tribute song to him, you are wild.
To my lioness. You're the
I understand.
My Chardonnay.
Yeah, it's incredible, dude. Like, I had seen it all over TikTok and, well, not TikTok because I'm not on TikTok, all over Instagram and everywhere. And I was like, I'm prepared for this. She sang the whole thing on the TV and I was bawling. I was like, what? Because also, like, their families are watching and so they're bawling and they're like, it was so good. So good. So we have Madison and Tyler, Connor and Georgie, James and Shelly, and Perry and Tina all still together from one season.
Have they ever had a breakup?
Yes.
From Love on the Spectrum?
Yes.
I feel like it is the most successful dating show ever.
Yes. So Tanner had gone on a few dates with Callie. They are not together at this point. There wasn't like a breakup on the show, but they're not together. Danny and Adon did break up on the show, and it seems that Danny has a new boyfriend, but she like posts all these things with like a man with an emoji over his face. So I don't know, like, I don't know if she's still with that person. Was she waiting for the show? Like, she hasn't posted anything since. So I don't really know. The thing about Danny that you should know, if you haven't seen this on TikTok, is that Danny wants to have sex. Bad. And she has been wanting to have sex for 3 seasons. Bad. And she got this boyfriend last season. This season, her and Adon are celebrating their 1 year together, and they have not had sex, and he decides to tell her he does not want to have sex before marriage. He told her, look, you asked if I was open to it. I was open, and I thought about it, and
I'm closed now.
I love the Lord too much, so no. And she said, we should not be together. But she posted this guy with the emoji over his face for St. Patrick's Day, and she said, getting lucky tonight. And I said, okay, yes, ma'am. Like, as you should, ma'am. She's just been trying to have an intimate adult relationship, as she tells us. And so hard. But that's really the updates. I will say, after me and Mary talked about Love on the Spectrum, I've since seen, like, obviously I already knew, like, what the critiques are. Like, people think that there are things they could do differently, like, different, like, other representations of people on the spectrum they could have. And, like, the show had put, like, a disclaimer on one of the episodes about, like, we are not able to represent, like, all people on the spectrum here. But what I've seen recently, which is the thing that has put up my red flags right now, is that I saw that they're not getting paid.
Oh.
Which is a problem.
Right.
These are not children. These are all adults.
Right.
If you get paid to go on The Bachelor, you should get paid. Like, they're following you, like, for your
Right.
all of your life in your house with your family. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's an issue to me.
There was a girl on TikTok who posted a video and was like, "This is for Tanner from Love on the Spectrum, and like, I would love to go on a date with you." And people were commenting, and they were like, "Hey, this is weird. Like, this, I don't know." And then other people were like, "You're infantilizing him. Like, he can date people on the spectrum or off the spectrum. He's a full grown adult." Didn't matter because Tanner stitched it and said, "No, thank you."
They, like, so this season, I don't remember who it was. Oh, Connor went on a date with a blonde.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. As you all might have heard. He went on the date. He was very nice to her. But she told him, like, I've been watching you on the show. And, like, she did say, like, I have fallen in love with who you are on the show. And, like, she is on the spectrum. So, like, I think that takes a little bit of the sliminess out, that it's not this person who's, like, neurotypical and watching and just being like, I just want to get on the show. But I think that made Connor uncomfortable, her saying, I'd fallen in love with you. But I think, like, we think about, like, Love is Blind and, like, these people, like, it is weird to know, like, you are meeting someone for the first time and they already know about you. But I also think they kind of are aware of that. Like, other people were telling James, like, people DM you on Instagram, why aren't you going on dates with those people? And I was like, maybe be cautious giving him that advice. But so I think it does open up a world of dating for them being on the show, and I think that's great. But I just get very nervous that, like, but maybe the show does very good vetting. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Connor went on that date and that girl said that and he said that's fucking weird. And then he went on one date with Georgie and he said, "Wait, I kind of get it now."
Yeah. Demigoddess. My brunette demigoddess. But I
can't wait to hear you segue this.
Oh, I don't have to. Brittany Cartwright has spoken about her son Cruz's autism diagnosis.
Speaking of autism,
I don't have to segue it. It's just so obvious.
Jax also made a post about this, which is interesting because he has previously posted about being unwilling to hear this information, which, like, the video Brittany made, she did start by saying, like, people have tried for a really long time to diagnose my son through the phone, and now I have information from a medical professional. But, like, I think the difference is that when Jax has previously said, like, stop trying to diagnose my son through the phone, he's made it be like, there is no way my son could have autism. And Brittany has always kind of had more of a vibe, like, if he does, I want to know. Like, I want to find out, like, what he needs. But he's not your kid. You can't be diagnosing him through Instagram. You're not a doctor.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it was always, like, if we say this, Jax would obviously be like, well, I did not say that. But the vibes were always that, like, Jax did not want something to be wrong with his kid. Right. He did not want you telling him something was wrong with his kid. But then in his caption, he's like, autism is not a whatever he said. It's not a bad thing. Yeah, like, whatever. He basically is like,
we will learn how to navigate the world your way.
Yeah.
A different way.
Yeah. And that's very nice. But I think also he's having to fight this, like, because he's gone everywhere and said, I was not a good husband, but I am an incredible father. So, like, he's got to by the time this comes out, this episode with us, The Valley will have aired. So we can't really tell you exactly what happens, but for now, we had the trailer, we have the premiere episode preview. I'm spitting a lot of peas. Jax and Brittany talked about when Jax comes in the house, he looks on the iPad where Cruz plays his games. He finds that Brittany has been sexting, basically, sent a sexy video of herself to a friend of theirs named Julian. She had been seeing him. I don't know if Jax had been aware of that. I think she thinks he was, but also none of his business. But when he saw their messages, he threw their coffee table and ended up injuring her. The infuriating part is that when he's telling Jesse this, he says, "Thank God Cruz was in the other room and he didn't see anything. I don't want him to see how I treat his mother." And Jesse said, "Yeah, like you don't want him to think that's how he can treat women when he grows up." Luckily, lots of autistic people don't have the ego problem that Jack seems to have. So, like, Cruz is gonna be a little genuine. But is that self-awareness from Jax? Or is he, like, gaslighting, I don't even know who, about the fact
dissonance.
That, thank God Cruz was in the other room when I was physically abusive to his mother.
The cognitive dissonance that this man has is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. Like, he's like, ugh, I really am such a good dad because, like, I threw a coffee table at
but I at least
my son's mom,
out of the room.
And he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. I was lucky enough that he wasn't there.
Crazy.
Yeah, like, and like, seriously, what a strange thing to say. And not even, like, it would be different if he said it, like, through tears and was like, "Oh my God, like, I just don't know what I would have done if he was in the room. Like, but it's such a close call. I should never have done that." But he's just like, I mean, thank God he wasn't in the room because I would hate for him to see that.
Also,
period.
How I treat his mother, like, present tense.
Yeah.
Use of the word.
Yeah. Because then, like, on Instagram or, like, whatever, I saw someone say, like, in a drug-fueled rage. And I'm like, obviously, I think, I don't know the timeline of when he stopped, like, when he got sober. Although Brittany says maybe we shouldn't buy it anyway. But, so I don't know, like, while we're watching the whole season of The Valley, is he going to be sober yet?
Yeah.
But at least during that instance, I'm guessing he wasn't. But again, I would think you would say to Jesse, like, this is why I can't do cocaine anymore.
Yeah.
But, like, he's just like, thank God I lucked out. He wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
Cool. I wonder if, because I think in her article or her interview, she said that the diagnosis was recent. So I guess in the season of The Valley, we won't hear about it, or we won't hear about it till, like, the end, maybe. Or maybe they'll be on the journey to getting the diagnosis. They were already
kind of looking into it last season.
Oh, sure.
Or they were looking into his, like,
speech patterns.
His being nonverbal.
Sure. A follow-up to last week, Allie Luber on her podcast, she talked about how when the incident with James happened, or when the breakup happened, but she just kept saying 2 months after. And I know the breakup was a little after the incident, so I don't know, whatever. Mm-hmm. But Lisa Vanderpump called her and told her that she should get back together with James because James did not mean it. And she also told Allie that, you know, you had been drinking as well. So you did play a part in it.
Crazy.
Lisa.
Katie and Sheena have spoken out, like, in agreement. Katie said that Lisa made her feel dismissed and guilty throughout her divorce, and then never congratulated her and Ariana on something about her. And then Sheena said that Lisa only reaches out when she needs something. What the fuck does she need from you, Sheena?
And also, like, the tables have turned so much that, like, now you have to think Stassi can't come out and make statements about Lisa Vanderpump now, but all the Vanderpump Rules cast can.
Right.
And, like, that kind of sucks. Like, I would love to hear what Stassi has to say, but her show's about to come out, so.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything about this next gen New York City show. Interested in it at all?
I've only seen the cast, like one of the Bierman girls is in it, and the little Judice.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't like decided if I'm like interested yet, but I am intrigued by Brooks and Gia Judice. They said one of them is Candy's daughter. I don't like a lot of them. I'm like, I don't know these people. But
yeah. Do you watch White Lotus?
No.
That's too bad. So since you don't watch White Lotus, let me catch you.
Or Severance. I'm a big freaking loser.
So Mike White, who made White Lotus, said that he asked Jason Isaacs and Parker Posey to base their characters and their family dynamic on the show off of Southern Charm. He said, like, he told them to watch this show. This is what I want you to sound like, act like, behave like. Jason Isaacs, who plays like the father in that family, denied that he was basing his character on Thomas Ravenel, which is kind of disappointing because the TikToks people were making of him and Thomas Ravenel saying the same things and Parker Posey and Patricia saying the same things were like so good. It was like spot on, but he said that Mike White did mention the show, but that he watched it very briefly and was like, I don't want to sound like those people. And so he said instead he went to an accent and dialect coach, and she told them also their family on the show is from Durham. And so she said, like, you wouldn't sound like them anyway, accent wise. And so he said, like, that's not true. He was telling this to Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen was like, but Mike White said, and he was like, yes, he said that. That's not what I did.
He's like, I did not follow the rules.
Right.
I just ignored them.
Yeah.
All right. I have a favor to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Will you please give us the rundown of what is going on with Gabby, Wendy, and Clayton?
Yeah. Sure. So, if you didn't know, Clayton is now a TikTok dancer. Not a good one. Gabby mentioned on a podcast that his videos are really cringy and that she thinks he looks like a toe. He then called her out for using her platform to make fun of someone's physical appearance. He was like, it is never acceptable to make fun of somebody's physical appearance, and basically asked her to apologize and do better. So she made a video in response, and she basically was like, I don't care what you think because you detailed our sexual relationship to another woman and all of the world on television without my permission.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, literally, like, everything Rachel learned about our relationship was against her will and against mine.
Yeah. Also, like, he's the one, like, when he started this TikTok dancing journey, like, he's the one who's always posting about how bad, like, he's like, I know it's bad right now, but, like, I'm practicing. Like, he's the first to make fun of himself. So, like, come on.
Yes. He made a video back saying that he was disappointed she was taking this route, and then posted screenshots from years ago where he
did the same thing to her again.
Right.
Is putting her business out there.
He had apologized. He was like, well, I thought Gabby was over it, but clearly she isn't. I hope she can heal from this. And, like, basically he was just like, I have found this outlet that is, like, really good for me, and Gabby comes along and shits all over it and then says I look ugly. The general consensus is that Gabby can be over it. and still not tolerate him coming for her from a perspective of like, this is hypocritical. You put my personal life out in the air, from a perspective of, I didn't do anything wrong. Leave me the fuck alone. It was also just like the most unserious comment she could have made about him.
Yeah.
And he's like clearly mad that she's become more famous than him. And it reminded me of a guy I dated very briefly in high school who was in my friend group. We were like in the same group of friends. And he was, after we broke up, he was kind of an asshole to me. And I asked one of our other friends, like, why is he being so mean to me? And he said, like, he's mad that y'all aren't together anymore, but we still like you and you're still funny. Like, he's mad that he, like, had you and now he doesn't, and you still get to be part of his friend group.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem here. Like, Clayton is like, I introduced Gabby Wendy to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's more famous than me. And like, everybody moved on, but help Clayton's still at the restaurant. He can't get over this. He's the one that can't get over everything that happened on The Bachelor. And she has fully gotten over it, moved on, gotten married.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still stuck in this world and like thinks Gabby shouldn't be able to talk shit about me because we're from the same universe and you're not anymore. Gabby has surpassed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's weird to me that he is surprised.
Right.
Like, Gabby has continued since The Bachelor to, like, evolve as a person and as a brand.
Right.
And she is clearly becoming more and more, I don't even know if, like, aware is the right word, but, like, vocal. It is, like, yeah, it's like a constant thing in her life that like men ain't shit. Like, I don't need to be with men anymore. I don't have friends that are men. She's on the Traders and she's like, I hate men. I'm with the girls. Like, this is like what she does.
Right.
And so like, yeah, even though she's like over it and like far removed, she looks back on her experience on The Bachelor and thinks, why was I fucking into this guy who did this to me? Men ain't shit. Like, why wasn't I?
He looks like a toe, even.
Why wasn't I with women then? They wouldn't have done that to me. And it's like, so yeah, she's even more sure now that, like, you don't deserve her kindness. Like, I don't know. Right. I think that, like, I forgot that you existed. Like, I think that, like, at a certain point, she is like, he's just any other man. And I love to make fun of men. And this is what I do. And, like, I'm not worried. I'm not trying to get him back for this relationship we had, but like, oh, like it's also like the thing to be like, men doing anything, ugh, cringe. Yeah. Men dancing, ugh. Like,
I did that at lunch today. One of my friends was talking about how her boyfriend wants her to watch anime, and she's like, it's just not my thing. And this man teacher was like, but it would make him happy. I said, ew, making men happy.
Yeah. I watch anime for my man, but you know, whatever.
I told her to start with Studio Ghibli and like work her way up. Which I don't watch anime, but I don't know. I was giving advice in the first place.
Yeah. Speaking of men ain't shit, did you see the SNL skit where she like asked the crowd like, these men ain't what? And they all yelled, shit.
I don't think I did, which is interesting because I watch SNL every week now. Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. I've seen a lot of people saying that they can't wait to see Robbie, talk about Clayton in a stand-up show, because they said like that's kind of what her stand-up is like eviscerating people. Yeah. And I feel like that might kill him.
Yeah. He'll lose it. The SNL
barely
thing,
holding on.
Yeah, it's true. The SNL thing was weird to me because like she said, these men ain't what? And
who was it?
I don't know. I don't watch SNL. I don't know these people. It was on like the news part,
Oh,
but it was not
Lego Woodham.
Sure. But then they're like, they're like, oh my god, we're gonna get fined, and then like all of the news articles are like SNL cast shocked by audience response and like,
okay, I do remember this,
oh no, we're gonna get in trouble, and I'm like,
yeah.
What did you think they were gonna say? What was the prompt?
They were interviewing Ego Woodham as Miss Eggy about Cory Booker.
So, what does that have to do with this?
I'm just saying what the skit was.
Oh, but I'm just saying, like, what was the answer? If the answer wasn't shit, and you didn't want the audience to yell a curse word, then like, I am confused by the question. You knew what the answer was.
I guess I never realized that they don't really say cuss words on SNL.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, yes, that's hilarious that we all know men ain't shit, but like, that's really the only answer.
That's the response.
Yeah. What? So in a strange turn of events, we have a Jojo Siwa segment, which isn't abnormal for us, but this might be.
Well, especially it's not abnormal to have a Jojo Siwa win on another reality competition show segment.
Yeah. So Jojo Siwa is currently on Celebrity Big Brother UK.
Because obviously she's from the UK. Of course.
There's another cast member, also American, who is on there with her actor and boxer Mickey Rourke. I don't know this guy. Whatever.
Ugly.
Yeah.
He's scary looking.
Yeah, but he was talking to her about her being gay. He says, like, what do you like? Boys or girls? Already a bad start. He said to her, like, the things that he said, I'm going to say them, but I watched them, and they didn't make sense in the context. No. So just let's be clear. He said they apparently had like just gotten there, because later Jojo says to another guy, "You've known me less than 24 hours." I don't know if this thing lasts 4 days. I don't know what he's talking about, but he's like, I just want to stay 4 days. If I stay 4 days, you won't be gay anymore.
He was saying, so it was 4 days until the first eviction.
Like eviction? Okay.
And he was saying, he said like to somebody, well, we're only going to be, he was talking about Jojo, and he said like, we're only going to be in this house together for 4 days. And they were like, and she said, 4 days? I'll be here longer than 4 days. I plan on staying the whole time. And that's when he says, if you are here for 4 days, blah, blah.
But he was saying, if I'm here for 4 days, then you won't be gay anymore. Which is like, I don't understand.
I plan on being here 4 days. Or I plan on being here longer than 4 days. I plan on being here the whole time. And he said, I
just want to
be here at least 4 days.
Yeah. And if I do, you won't be gay anymore. And then she said, yeah, I will be. And I'll still be in a happy relationship. And then he said, I'm going to tie you up. No context. I don't know what that means.
He said something else after that.
Well, after that, he just kept saying, I'm going to vote out the lesbian.
Yeah. He said, I'm going to tie you up, and then he said something else.
But then, because Jojo in response said, oh, no, you won't. You try to tie me up, I'll tie you up. Like, it was just like a very weird, I don't understand. Then,
also,
this is, what?
I was going to say, I was backtracking a lot, so I'll let you.
So, then he says, this is, like, the most controversial part, I guess. Not I guess, it is. He says, I need a F slur.
Mm-hmm.
He means that he needs a cigarette.
He says he means.
Well, he does mean, like, the sentence, he was asking for a cigarette, but he was also very clear about what that means because A, he is American,
Mm-hmm.
I must remind you. And B, he said, I need a F slur. I'm not talking about you, Jojo. And the guy next to him said, you can't say that. And he said, I meant a cigarette. And he said, I understand that, but you can't say that.
Right.
But like, also, again, like the whole time I was watching, because apparently I just don't hear their accents, I was like, oh, he's British.
Right.
That's why he said it. And then I was like, oh, he's not British. And it's 2025. And he literally said this word that he knows he's not allowed to say. And then was like, but I'm not talking about you, Jojo. So BBUK, people were calling for him to be like kicked off. BBUK did call him into the DR and give him an official warning that his statements were offensive and inappropriate. So that's a start.
Yeah. He came back after that DR session and said and apologized to Jojo, and he said something like, I really am sorry, and like I mean it, and like they not because they made me say it.
Yeah. And she seemed receptive to the apology.
Yeah, I think this has really changed the way people think of Jojo. In another clip from another day, he's telling her how I can't remember the name. It's a British drag queen I'm not familiar with. But he's telling her how seeing this person in drag was his first time seeing someone dressed up like that. And he was like kind of saying like he's actually really impressed. And she was like, yeah, I mean, like they looked fabulous. It's really like an art. And she said, he was like, it's my first time seeing someone. And she said, in drag. And he was like, oh, is it okay to say drag? And
well,
she was
because
like,
it rhymes with the other one?
She said, like, yeah, he's a drag queen. And so, like, that would be the correct term. And so then he said, like, he wasn't sure because he knows you can't say transvestite anymore. Jojo was like, yeah, the appropriate term would be transgender. Then
but not
she's
the
like,
appropriate term for a drag queen.
Right, different things.
Whoa.
Then she tells him, and partially disagree, but she tells him that she said it's not the words you use, it's the intention you say with it. And I was like, I'm not a Jojo Siwa lesbian, so I'm not gonna say like, no, it is about the words you use.
She's not an anything lesbian, just so we're clear. I don't know what the qualifier was for.
I'm not a lesbian.
That kind of lesbian.
I'm not. But so I'm not gonna be like I know better than Jojo Siwa, who is a lesbian. But I feel like sometimes it does kind of have to do with the word.
Yeah.
There's certain words you can't say.
Which I think, so there was another house guest who was like comforting her after all this. Yes. And I kind of think this is like, she was kind of bordering on defending Mickey at that point too.
Yeah.
And the guy was saying like she didn't like say this, but you know, like when you are the person who someone is like offending, but you like don't want to embarrass them too much. So you're like, well, like, I don't know. So she was like kind of trying, she was like, I just can't believe that's still out there. I can't believe that still happens. And the guy was like, I don't think we need to make excuses because of his age. I don't think we need to make excuses for anything. Like there's right and wrong. He didn't say this, but I think he was insinuating it's 2025. Yeah. Like there is right and wrong. And I think that like, while Jojo is right, if you were speaking to another person who is like an ally and they mess up because the language changes so often, then yeah, it doesn't really, the words aren't what matters. It's the intention. However, like you've lived on this earth and you've not tried to figure out what the words are. Like you're eons behind what the words are. You're not like on yesterday's word. You're like, you know, like it's just like when all of our parents go, well, since I can't say anymore, and you're like, something, just don't.
Yeah. So she tells him that and then she says, like, if you say the wrong word, as long as you're willing to take criticism and learn from your mistakes and, like, ask questions and figure out what the right word is, like, then, like, you don't, like, feel nervous about what you're trying to say, basically, as long as you're coming from a good place. And people are, like, really commending her for her patience with this man. And they're like, she owes him not an ounce of kindness.
Yeah.
And she's still giving it to him. And, like, I think people are really, really pleased with her for that.
Yeah, and, like, it's hard for me to say if this is long-term going to change my opinion of Jojo Siwa. Unfortunately, she's an easy person to make fun of. She does do shit like that. But, like, one thing I can speak for both of us that, like, we have always respected about JoJo is her sexuality. Like, never been the issue here. But I mean, it does kind of mature her in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it does grow her up a little bit in my head. Like, she just got done doing this weird drinking parade around Disney for her 21st, and I was like, oh my god. But it's like, but also we have to acknowledge that a large part of her, like, has had to grow up quickly by, like, being an out lesbian and a child star. Like, so I do think that, like, yeah, I mean, I think it's commendable. I don't know, but I'm like, get me one of those
Jojo Siwa
900 one of those $900 all exclusive passes to the Jojo Siwa show. Yeah. I'm good, but
rock on, too bad sister. We didn't name this one not a Jojo Siwa lesbian.
It's not done yet. We can change it. I did write a whole caption for a different title, but Mary is not. What kind of lesbian would you be? I need to, like, what are the words? Can I look up kinds of lesbians? Oh, kinds of lettuce. Lipstick? Lipstick? Chapstick? Bush,
I mean, like, I would obviously be a lipstick lesbian.
Yeah.
But, like,
makeup dresses and skirts.
Yes, of course. I also, like, I feel like I would be the kind of lesbian that Chaperone goes for.
I guess like, we'll have to wait and see.
When she described, like, her ideal woman, I was like, I want to be her. That woman that she's describing.
Am I a chapstick lesbian?
No.
I am nothing?
You're just not a chapstick lesbian. I know that because my TikTok For You page is only thirst traps of chapstick lesbians.
My just a regular old
Which is why
lesbian?
I made the clarification that I'm not a Jojo Siwa lesbian.
I wish I was cottagecore. This one says, lesbian type hippie vegan lesbian.
I feel like I'd be like a crystal, you know, like I literally what Chaperone described, like a crystals. I feel like I would be myself.
Right. So you'd be a lipstick lesbian.
But I'm also very, like, woo-woo crystal thrifty.
Sure.
Girl.
I like chapstick.
That's not what it means.
I know it's not what it means. Okay. Last tidbit. Monica, yes ma'am, Monica from Love is Blind has been hanging out with Ben Mazinga. They're doing videos together. They've been seen at the bar. Not only videos in their bathing suits.
We could all do better, Monica, but
yes.
So fun to watch.
It doesn't seem, maybe I'm stupid, but it doesn't seem romantic yet. It honestly just seems like getting her get backs. Like, the first one was just like the eyes emoji, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, girl. She said, let's go to a bar where we know they will take our picture. All right, final things. Bravo shows. I've got Beverly Hills Reunion and Summer House. So the reunion, Dorit is still winning this reunion. She gets Kyle to admit that she was continuously talking to PK after Dorit and PK announced their separation, not just the one text that they talked about all season. I know you're not watching, so jump in.
Sorry, I'm looking at I have so many questions about the next part.
Oh, yeah, you will. Kyle even says, yeah, when we were all in Oceanside and me and you got in the fight, I walked into my room and called PK. And everyone's like, you don't think that's weird? Kyle did admit at the end, like, I would be pissed if you were talking to Mauricio right after we announced our separation and if me and you were not talking. And, like, it was not, she said, I am a girl's girl. And this was not that. I shouldn't have done it. Blah, 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 blah. So I guess that's great. I've seen a clip for the next part where Dorit's going to actually, like, cheer on Kyle. So I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on? This is the part Mary's so excited for. Andy brings Kathy Hilton out. She comes out holding her purse like she always does. She's popping fucking gum in her mouth the whole time. She's being a freak. And he's like, so Kathy, like, I want to ask you about how did you find out that you're Chinese? I'm like, whoa, I don't even remember this from the season. So what is he talking about? And he's like, you said on the show that you found out you were Chinese. And so she goes in on this long ass story about how, well, I was at the fashion show in Venice, Italy. And he's like, you found out you were Chinese while you were at a fashion show in Italy? And she's like, Andy, just listen, Andy. And so she's saying that this woman comes up to her and she asks her name. And then they have some sort of conversation about her name. And then she asks her birth name. Okay. And then she tells her that her ancestry goes back to 3000 BC in China. And Andy's like, okay, but like, how does she know that? And Erica like answers for her. She goes, it's a psychic in Italy. And Kathy goes, no. And Kyle's like, are we Chinese or not? And she's like, was it DNA? How did you find this out? Like, and at a fashion show, like, they took your blood right then? Like, follow up. And Kathy's like, Andy's like, where did she get this information? She said, on her phone. They said, so she Googled you?
And that's what came up?
But, like, her birth name, so did she Google Kathy Richards?
And still, that's what came up?
Somehow it pulled up an entire lineage and said anyone with the last name Richards.
Chinese.
Immediately Chinese. 3000 BC. Also, would 3000 BC even show up on your Ancestry.com at this point? How many percentage is that?
She looked this woman up on her phone and she said, I have the chance to do the funniest thing ever. I'm going to tell this woman something she will believe, and she's going to run with it.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, this was years ago. She's been telling this anecdote at Kathy Hilton parties for decades, probably. We're Chinese. You know? My ancestry goes all the way to 3000 BC China. And people are just nodding their heads being like, that's weird. And then they're going and telling their friends, did you know Kathy Hilton and the Richards girls are Chinese? All for her to sit there and go, well, she looked on her phone. And everyone's like.
And she just, like, of all the Kathy Richards that have ever existed, she knew it was you. The things I was, like, thinking about when I was reading ahead are, I'm at a point in Beverly Hills where Kathy Hilton has made no appearances on this show.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, at what point is Kathy Hilton on the show enough that she's being called into the reunion? I haven't seen her ass once.
Yeah.
Then my other thing is, if she's saying this, have Kyle and Kim also believed they were Chinese?
for at least a few years.
Time?
Kyle said, like, I've been meaning to ask you, I heard you say that, are we training? So then I'm like, did Kyle find out from the show too?
Kyle's like, oh my god,
What?
I'm
Yeah.
Of
I will tell you now that you will get, I think it's only one, but you will get a season where Kathy is an actual housewife.
Okay. That's what I was wondering when I saw that, but
not this season, but there's a one somewhere. Steak sauce. So they ask Sutton about this incident where Dorit was talking and she was telling all the women, like, Jagger came and asked me about, like, are you and Daddy, like, not together? Like, please stay friends. Like, it was like this sad, like, story. She's very sad that her son, they were trying not to tell them. Now he obviously knows, whatever. And they ask Sutton about it because while Dorit's telling the story, Sutton's, like, leading a cash trip. And she, like, literally jumps in mid-sentence and is like, so sorry to interrupt, but we have to go. And Dorit's like, before I was so rudely interrupted, like, I'm going to finish my story about my son. And Sutton was like, well, it was going a little long. And so she, like, doubled down. She said, I don't care. Well, on the reunion, she says, production told me to interrupt you. And I thought, oh my God, hello, Andy. Are you going to say, no, they didn't? Or are you going to say, whoa.
Roll the tapes.
Is this going to be like a big deal? Like, that's crazy when we say the production made us do something. But then Andy goes, well, sure, they were telling y'all needed to leave. Like, you needed to get going. But, like, you could have said it nicer. And it's like, so I guess it's not a big deal. Like, I guess production was literally just saying, like, we have the Sprinter vans outside. Like, we need to go. And, like, Sutton's in charge of the trip. So, like, can you get a word in? But it's like, in that moment, yeah, maybe that's the reason. But it's got to be a twofold that, like, it's going to make interesting TV for her to do it. Or else we've seen producers sometimes. Yeah. So they could jump in and say, like, hey, Dorit, and it honestly would have been funny because the whole shtick is that Dorit talks too much. So it would have been funny for production to have to jump in and be like, we gotta go. Finish this in the car. But basically, Sutton says that they asked her to do it, and everyone says, like, sure, but you could have done it better. And she's like, oh, yeah, I did it terribly. Like, I could have done it better. Like, I just, like, panicked, and, like, I don't know. There was a million other ways I could have done it. The thing about Sutton this time, she's taken a lot of accountability, but she's very chill. And I don't know if I would, okay, so I think it seems like she's on anxiety medication. However, I don't know if I would, I think I still would, but when Jennifer Tilly, who you do not know at all, but who is her best friend, when she came on, she whispered to Garcelle, like, I wonder if Sutton took any anxiety medication today. And so then I started watching and I was like, it do seem like that. But I still think I would have thought it anyway because Dorit started saying to her, like, where's the girl who said this to me this season? Where's the girl who did this to all of us? And then finally at the very end, when the credits are rolling at the bottom, Sutton starts yelling and Dorit goes, there she is. There she is.
Where's Dorit from?
Connecticut?
Oh. She has an accent? Or am I... Okay.
Have they not talked about it yet? Or do you not have Dorit?
Dorit's not on there yet.
They'll talk about it. They talk about, like, bitch, you're from Connecticut. Like, where's this? But she, like, lived in London for a little while. Like, I don't know. But yeah, it's very strange.
Okay.
I'm sure if you found videos of teenage Dorit, she does not talk like that. We should do just, like, a Beverly Hills Q&A. Just you.
Yeah.
Throwing them at me, rapid fire style. So over to Summer House. On Summer House, Lexi has completely forgiven Jesse for flirting with Sierra and for sucking on toes. Cool. And she says, well, he brought me flowers and he let me meet his parents. So Jesse, apparently, he tells the confessional, he tells West, he tells everyone at the house that he did not want her to meet his family yet. that it was entirely pressure. West is making that very clear that he thinks he doesn't like Lexi anymore because he thinks she was pressuring him. And I just wonder, like, Jesse, if we, maybe the confessionals, because, like, maybe by the confessionals, you could always argue, like, maybe people have already broken up. But, like, you're saying this all over TV. And you, at the time of this, think that you're going to be with this woman.
Right.
Which is why you're doing all of this.
Right.
But then you're saying it on TV.
Right.
And she's going to see it a year from now. And she's going to be very mad.
Right.
So I don't understand. But, like, everyone keeps saying, like, they are so leaning into, like, their fuckboys this season. Like, so much. So then I'm like, maybe he is fully doing what Wes did last season. He needs a romantic interest to get following on this show, to get airtime. And so he's sticking it out with her for this season. But he never intends to be with her. Huh?
I kind of just think he's an idiot.
Yeah, it's also possible. But he very clearly, like, as far as, like, he would love Sierra more than, like, over, like, he wants to be with Sierra. So, like, why are you doing all this?
He and Wes, like, barely even noticed that Lexi was in the car with them.
I literally
they were, like, talking about this. I was like, did they forget she's there?
I know. I was like, West, oh no, West. Do you not realize why you're sitting in the back seat? It's because she's in the front seat.
You didn't check to see who was sitting there?
Oh my god! And then Jesse reaches for her hand. And Wes said something. What did he say? He said, like, that's good. Or, like,
she
said
was like
something weird at the end.
I know, but Lexi was like,
yeah, not about it. Lexi apparently also, we're making her out to be a bad guy for this too.
Of course.
She also went through Jesse's followers. She had some issues with the fact that he had continued to follow new women since they became exclusive. Yeah. Sure. I think so. I'm guessing it was more than, like, one. So everyone seems to be forgetting that Jesse is a dog.
Right.
Of course he's like, how would you even know that?
And a Bravo celebrity. Of course he's following women.
Yeah.
Left and right.
Yeah, I mean, sure. But, like, and, yeah, his best friend last year was the one that was like, I don't want to be in a committed relationship because I really want to be able to hook up with women who like me from the show. So it's like, yeah. And so Paige, the way she says it to Jesse is different than how she says it in the confessional. When she says it to Jesse, she says, like, she's 26. If you don't want to be with someone acting immature, then, like, don't. She tells us in the confessional, like, it's more like women's rights in the confessional and wrongs. But she's like, oh my God, when I was 26, I was showing up places banging on doors. If all she's doing is checking your followers, like,
right,
you're good, buddy. So, which is, like, true, but also, like, Jesse's what, 29?
Right.
Isn't that 26 in girl brain, maturity-wise? So, like,
I think it's
whatever.
younger.
Yeah, baby. Paige gives, like, the one-liner of the century at the very beginning of the episode. She tells everyone that she was raised by Lindsay Hubbard and that she, too, does not give a shit anymore. I wasn't quite I was already raised by the time Lindsay Hubbard came along, but, like, I get the sentiment. Sure. Lindsay brings up to Carl at dinner that she believes he was talking to Lil while they were still engaged. Carl says he prays for her and that he hopes she healed, and that was a bad idea. I did not like that.
Like, mouth agape. I was like, what the fuck did he just say to her?
No, yeah.
When Paige was like, if somebody told me they prayed for me,
yeah,
I was like, that's how I feel.
Yeah, bad. She said, please don't. But he cleared his name by just going to get his phone. I do find these situations hard. We just did this with Kyle Richards this season, but it's like lawyering up, right? Like, it makes you look suspicious when you're like, I'm not going to show you my phone.
Yeah.
But then it's also like, why should I show you my phone? Like,
Right.
why should I owe you showing you my phone? Especially like private messages with someone. Right. But he went and got his phone because Kyle told him to. And honestly, Lindsay seemed happy that he did not cheat on her.
Yeah.
Maturity.
He also said at that dinner that he will not be pursuing a relationship with Lil because she was weird and she gave him a lemon on their date. And I have to say, the last couple weeks when Lil's been introduced, I did not fully understand the Joe comparisons online. I was like, yeah, she's like seems like eccentric, but she's not like crazy.
Yeah.
And like I'm not saying that she's crazy, but I do kind of see it now. Like she's just like, I think she's just kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do kind of see the comparison now. The lemon thing was crazy.
I did not find it that weird.
I think like
I do think it's weird to say I have a gift.
Like the idea that you went to somewhere and purchased a lemon, possibly, and then brought it to a restaurant to give to a man to take home. Like, what's he gonna do with it?
She's like, and then you can use it. Can I use it for my water?
I was gonna say, I don't know if this had any effect on Lindsay kind of like letting it go after the text, but I did think like the next day when Carl was like really upset, like she was the one who was like, it's the anniversary of his brother dying. Like, sure. I think he just needs some time. And then like other people are pointing out like Lindsay is the first person he told when it happened. Mm-hmm. Lindsay has been with him for every other anniversary. Mm-hmm. Lindsay and
it is the day before her birthday every single year.
Right. And
the tree was
night
cute.
Before, she is like basically telling you like, I don't want anything to do with you anymore and I think you're a bad person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. But like I even thought like just her calling Turner and being like, it was all good. He showed me his phone. Like I was like, that's growth.
Yes.
You know? Rock on, sister. At the end, we see Paige feeling very anxious, thinking about her upcoming tour and her relationship with Craig. How real that, like, she's like, it's still a month out, but, like, I thought about it, and now I'm just about everything. Mm-hmm. We're getting into, we've seen clips of this, obviously, all season, but we're getting into Sierra starting to tell her, like, if this is no longer, like, the person who actually fits your lifestyle in the future you want, like, it may just not be it just may not work out. But then she also is like, but also he is giving hater energy, so like you should, like, he's gonna expect what she said, like he would expect you to come to, like, when y'all get married, that you would like stop working and stuff. And Paige is like, yeah, I think so. And she's like, that does not sound like what you want. So like maybe this isn't gonna work. But we do see Paige struggling with the fact that like it does not seem like they fit anymore, but she still loves him, which I think like shows like because Craig kept saying like, well, and then when she let me over to her house, she was still crying, she was still upset, and like then blah 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 blah, she didn't want, and it's like she's admitting like, I don't want to see him with other people, like I don't want to not be with him, but like I know that this doesn't make sense. And it's like, so it kind of seems in the end, Craig, like everything that she has told us since the breakup is exactly what happened.
Right.
That like it wasn't working, their lifestyles.
Yeah.
But that's all I got. We end on Paige and Craig. If you did not listen to our 420 Taylor Swift episode yet, you should do that.
Right.
Anything else?
No. Go Paige.
Woo! Go Paige. Bye. Bye.